Hey guys, your pal Icarus here. I kind of wanted to record something just because I felt a little guilty about how last night both of the things that we tried recording just didn't pan out. um, so here I am on WoW Classic, and playing this brings to mind the fact that back when I played WoW Retail all the time, there was a constant flow of people who would complain about how World of Warcraft was so much better back in the day. Okay, we really gotta salute this guy for him to talk to me. Yeah, there he is. What? No, he's still kneeling. Here's who I gotta turn this quest into. Anyway. So, gotta salute or wave. I did the salute. Oh. Is this quest just broken? I don't normally look up my quests, especially because I downloaded this cheaty quest helper app that I add on that I really shouldn't be using, because a lot of people say part of the charm of classic World of Warcraft was the fact that you had to discover everything for yourself. But no, you just... Okay, whatever. This quest is broken. I don't know what it even... I mean, the reward for this part of the quest is a boring whole lot of nothing, but what does the chain culminate in? What do I get at the end of all of this? Just 250 experience and 25 Ruck with Stormwind. And the experience will scale down the higher level I am. Okay. Is he also is he in two places at once? I've seen NPCs do that. It says the entrance to Stormwind on a horse in this comment. Is he at the entrance to Stormwind on a horse? I don't see anyone at the entrance to Stormwind, with or without a horse. Anyway, back on topic. I'd hear so many people complaining that they thought WoW was better back in the day, with in the day being whatever expansion happened to be their favorite. And that always annoyed me, but I'm going to do that myself now. See, I started playing World of Warcraft Retail back near the end of the Burning Crusade expansion, and nope, that Marcus Jonathan guy is not there. He's still back up here. And I thought it was pretty good back then. I thought it was even better in Wrath of the Lich King once that one popped. Of course, after the Scourge Invasion pre-launch event, because that Scourge Invasion pre-launch event just utterly wrecked the game. With you couldn't get any quests done, with players sabotaging each other by going ghoul and everything. And no. In any case, I gotta go around getting all kinds of booze, don't I? I don't have the patience for that, but it is money. And a cloak. I don't have a cloak. Or at least not as good. No, I got a better cloak. Never mind. I'll probably just grind. I'll be less distracted if I'm just grinding. I'll also make more money if I'm just grinding. So let's ignore quests for now. Even with the fancy quest helper cheaty add-on. But in any case, it was so unnerving to see everyone just ranting about their favorites. And I don't have one favorite. I'd have to judge each of them based off of different criteria. And I'm not going to go through trying to rank them either. No, instead I'm going to just kind of isolate individual things of what I feel makes for a good game, and say which expansion I thought was best for those elements. Like, first and foremost, the biggest quality in a game that is important to me, Okay, so the quest also gotta turn in there. The price of shoes. Price of shoes. I'll just grind, like I said. Let's distract him that way. The most important element in any game to me is approachability. How friendly is the game to a new player? How quickly can a new player pick up the game, get used to how it works, and catch up to their friends who got them into the game who are at the maximum end game level? And generally, how smooth is the progression in that path? And a lot of expansions, I feel, did this right in World of Warcraft, but I'm going to have to say that Legion was probably by far and large the most approachability, new player-friendly expansion of them all. Because by that point in time, we had heirloom gear, which we still do have in current iteration of WoW retail. And if you're invited by a friend like me, I might not be the wealthiest player on a server, far from it in fact, but I do have enough hoarded gold on any given character that I could afford to put up the money to buy you your first set of heirlooms for your first character, so you don't have to worry about gear pretty much for most of the leveling path, and then some. And then on top of that, once you actually hit Legion content, you're given a quest chain that culminates in you getting an artifact weapon that levels up with you throughout the expansion. You never need to replace that weapon for the entirety of the expansion's content. And for those who haven't played Classic, or for those who only play caster classes, you can go. You can just go and shut up now, you caster class cheaters. You don't know the struggle of keeping your character geared, and the biggest part of that struggle is, in fact, your weapon. You're as a class of anything other than being a caster, you will inevitably end up running into the problem where your weapons are not keeping up with you. I think I'm at that problem right now with this guy. Yeah, he's got little level 10 daggers, and he's in his mid-teens. He's pretty much quite nearly getting up to level 20 using level 10 gear, because that's just what he has. So having a weapon that'll level up with you just makes the game that little bit more approachable for players who are just trying to struggle through all of this game's content. As opposed to how in Classic here, there aren't enough quests to get you 1 to 60. There just aren't. You have to do a certain amount of grinding, and that grinding goes a lot smoother if you can keep your weapons up to par, but keeping your weapons up to par is not a guarantee. In fact, it's all but guaranteed that you won't be able to. There we go. Gotcha, bleeding. That sounds good to me. So yeah, in my opinion, Legion probably wins outright for the approachability factor. The next big factor for me, because I am or at one point was a lore junkie, is plot. And on that one, I'm going to have to give it to Burning Crusade. Hands down, Burning Crusade is probably the best one for plot, simply because it was the latest point in the series of expansions for World of Warcraft, where they didn't have to retcon or contradict anything to improve, to build upon the story anymore. And by that I mean some of you have probably already seen my trial of Illidan Stormrage, where I go into where I just basically spend the majority of the video harping on the fact that they refuse to address the time he almost destroyed Azeroth in his redemption story arc. And there's more in WoW's, in the Warcraft Azeroth world timeline that was failed to be addressed or was outright contradicted for the sake of building the story a certain way as they went deeper and deeper into certain expansions. And the first step in that, and as far as I have noticed, was when the dragon aspect started taking a larger role in the story. I wasn't playing back in Classic, but in the Burning Crusade portion of the story, they basically they were ignored to the point where they basically didn't exist. But then we got to Wrath of the Lich King's part of the story where, yeah, Alexstrasza is directly assisting the assault on the Wrathgate, among other things. And the dragon aspects themselves, at least Alexstrasza being among them, and Deathwing formerly being among them, pretty well contradicts some degree of the story from the oldest RTS games that started the franchise. I'm gonna die against this Dragon Golf, aren't I? Well, not if I interrupt his fireballs. Ah! There we go. Cover again. Oh yeah, I can't bandage, but that'll give me time to get some stamina back, and then boom! There we go. Okay. Yeah, WoW Classic was brutal. But yeah, so Alexstrasza. In Warcraft 2, Alexstrasza was described as just being the basically mother of all dragons, which I guess kind of fits with being the aspect of life and the dragon aspect of life in World of Warcraft. But, and yeah, there's a big but here, almost as big as mine, but that means she was also Deathwing's mother. And that is actually straight up said in the plot of Warcraft 2. And I seem to recall, this might be a fault in my memory rather than an actual bit of the lore, so don't quote me on it. I seem to recall Deathwing being hated by the Horde because he lashed back out, fought against his brethren, fought against Alexstrasza to kill her and free her, in the process of killing her, free her from the mind control or shackles over whatever that the Dragon Maw clan had over her. And in the process, he was gravely wounded and retreated, and then the Horde went to hunt him down. And from there, the story quite plainly points out the Horde killing him over Blackrock Mountain in terms that made it sound like he was most definitely slain, and that it was a confirmed kill, that they had a body to see. So the Cataclysm story, bringing Deathwing back, of course, retcons that, saying that he survived and just hid away in Deepholm for a while, and the mere presence of the dragon aspects all being treated like their siblings instead of Alexstrasza being treated as a mother figure to Deathwing also kind of wrecks that. I've been all the retconning and whatnot is what stopped me being a lore junkie, by the way. Not just in World of Warcraft, but in comics, in superhero stories, in Power Rangers stories.
I need to get closer.
No fireballs for you. Stop it. So yeah, so far we've got approachability. I'd rank Legion as the top expansion, and for plot, or plot consistency, I should say, because the plot has gotten more and more interesting with each retcon. I'll give them that much. But for plot consistency, I would say probably Burning Crusade would be the last point where the plot was still consistent with all the RTS games. And that's an important thing to a lot of players. Not just me, but I mean, obviously me, because otherwise I wouldn't be bringing it up. Another point going back to that that boring old approachability point with Legion was also they had gutted the famous talent tree system into something that the players of the classic game hated, because you lost the ability to truly customize your character, all in the name of making the game easier for newer players to learn. And I mean, as someone who cherishes approachability in a game so much as I do, that was an improvement to me. Even if it was so hated by the veteran players of the game who missed their talent trees and their custom builds. But that gets me on to a part where I'm going to kind of contradict myself, because, well, I'm going to sound like I'm contradicting myself, because while I rank Legion so highly for the sake of approachability, the next factor would be challenge. And a lot of players value challenge so much more than any other factor in a game, and I get that. You can all look at whatever factors you like best in a game. For challenge, I think you would have to go all the way back to WoW Classic, as this is right now, where you have to work for everything. Nothing is given to you. You have to earn every step of your progress. You have to grind for months if you don't have some super efficient grinding strategy to be able to make enough money just to buy your first mount. And that's your slow ground mount, not even flying, because flying wasn't a thing yet. People looking for a real challenge out of a game like World of Warcraft can probably get their best by playing WoW Classic. Excuse me, sir. I would like to not die. I thought I had evasion already, but I guess I'm wrong. I just want to skin that pig. But yeah, in addition to how it's brutal, you see how I've been almost dying against like every other mob that's close to my level. And I'm not panicking about it just because I kind of know what I can handle and how I can handle it. And also, these talent trees. These talent trees are immense and interesting and intricate, but there's only like 2 or 3 ways per talent tree to actually properly make it work. And so that's what gave way to a bunch of cookie cutter builds that you can always look up online, but if you try to figure it out for yourself, you could very easily mutt your character into a build that isn't going to get anything done. That's going to hinder you more than help you. And guilds back in those days would heavily judge you for it. Treat it like you were utterly failing as a player because you didn't understand the intricacies of how everything came together. It's brutal. It's broken. Or at least to someone who values approachability as much as I do, it's broken. There's just no backdrop or anything to help you, and redoing your spec costs you money. A growing amount of money with each time you realize you made a mistake and had to redo it. And with how hard it is to grind decent amounts of cash in this old iteration of the game, yeah, even that 5 gold cost for your first respec is a heavy toll for just making a minor mistake, clicking 1 point wrong in any one of these buttons. And then it goes up to, I think, 10. I don't know. I haven't respected all yet since I started WoW Classic. And then goes up to either 15 or 20, and then from there, who knows how high it climbs before the cost will actually cap out. I don't know if I don't know if anyone's actually saved up enough just to keep making that climb over and over again because of making repeated mistakes with their builds. But yeah. It's no Dark Souls, obviously, because I'm here easily, relaxedly handling everything. It's definitely not the biggest challenge in the world of a game, but it's the most challenging iteration. So there's my 3 best expansions for World of Warcraft. If I had to choose just a favorite with completely casting aside all talk of separating out different factors to consider and just overall favorite, it wouldn't even be any of the ones I mentioned. It would be Warlords of Draenor. Because they utterly wrecked any story coherency by deciding they wanted to introduce time travel and an alternate universe Draenor into the mix. But as much as everyone hated the garrisons, I loved that to death, because it was a way that an alcoholic like me could still make bank, could still make a lot of gold. In fact, if anything, alcoholics like me made more gold in Warlords of Draenor than people who focused on a single main character. And those people who were that heavily focused on just their single main were the ones who were usually complaining about the garrisons because they took everyone out of the capital cities. The capital cities were ghost towns. You didn't feel like a living world so much. It was just everyone hiding away in their garrison playing Farmville. It's like, well, whatever. They're finally rewarding the alts of the world. That's what it felt like to me, that they were finally rewarding the altaholics. And every step of the game that makes it so that you've got to invest more into endgame content to make anything considering reasonable progress or reasonable profit. I look at the elites, they are elites, and they're level 25. I shouldn't touch them. I shouldn't have stealthed this far away, because stealth makes you super slow in Classic. Super slow. I get that stealth hit on you.
I'm out of range.
But yeah, I really just like the fact that they were finally rewarding alcoholics, and I would like to see an expansion where they did it again, but I'm probably not going back to WoW Retail at this point. Not because I like WoW Classic better. To be perfectly honest, I don't really. But I like WoW Classic better than what I'm hearing Shadowlands is going to do. For further detail than that, I could make another video, but I'm still in debate on that. Or I could roll it into this video. Why not? I got time. You guys don't mind hour-long videos from me, do you? So there's literally it's not gonna be an hour long. There's really only one factor about what I've heard they're supposedly doing with Shadowlands that is making me hate the concept of moving forward with World of Warcraft, and that kind of tugs at the power fantasy in a game, because RPGs like World of Warcraft and all kinds of other similar games are generally all about growing stronger as your character progresses. And I've heard a lot of talk, read a lot of posts about the fact that supposedly Blizzard is planning on applying the same level scaling that they did in Legion zones and that they did in Battle for Azeroth zones to the entire world with Shadowlands, so that you will never outlevel a zone again, basically. But the reasoning behind why they want to do it is very sound. They don't want people to outlevel a zone and have to cut off their quests halfway through completing a zone's quest chain, so that a player who likes a particular zone can still make progress as they continue to complete that zone's full story. And I'm all behind that mentality. But if they don't cut that level scaling off early enough, like if they make that level scaling go all the way to the level cap or all the way to level 60 when the new level cap's going to be a 70 because they're squishing levels back down, I don't think that those last 10 levels will be enough for you to actually feel like you have gained in power. And in that I mean, I don't need to go back and bully weak things to feel strong. That's not what I'm really saying. What I'm getting at here is the fact that while all the numbers might go up, if the monsters scale up in level with you, then you're going to face yourself the issue that the monsters' numbers go up at the same pace your numbers go up, unless you keep your gear in line with your level, and depending upon how they do the scaling, even if you keep your gear in line with your level. So at no point will you ever feel like something that was a massive challenge for you early in the game is easier. Everything is still going to be just as difficult, just as strong, and that is in utter defiance of the idea of growing stronger. If you grow stronger, something that was a challenge for you before will become a negligible, like, yeah, something that it will become negligible. Something that was a challenge for you in the early game will become just something you can overlook and just idly go past because it's not going to be a bother anymore because you're that much stronger than you were back when you were a newbie. Even games without an actual leveling system do this. Let's consider Mega Man X. It's a platformer. You're not growing in power by leveling up. You're growing in power by getting more skilled at the game, and by your character getting new weapons and armor upgrades. And the robots that you fought at the early game that might have given you a hassle at your newbie skill level and your lack of all these weapons and all that, by the time you reach the end of the game, those same enemies are something you can just breeze past. You can just jump through a whole level. I've done it myself. I've gone no hit, no shoot through an entire level in Mega Man X2 after I got all my upgrades just to prove I could do it back when I was younger and just generally better at games. But yeah, that's a thing that you can do when power scaling actually happens as you grow in strength. But if the enemies scale with you, that power scaling doesn't mean anything. Because, I mean, imagine if when you got your dash boots in Mega Man X1, if the enemies got faster to keep the game still, to maintain the game's challenge and keep everything in line with your growth. And when you got your Buster upgrade, if the enemies got more health, and when you got your armor upgrade, if the enemies just happened to gain the ability to do more damage with stronger attacks, it would be just a mind-numbing, monotonous slog where everything is still a challenge for those gamers who thrive on challenge, but also where you don't get to see that X grows in strength at all because all his growth and strength is undermined by the enemies growing in strength at the same rate. So yeah, I'm hoping that Shadowlands level scaling will not be as dire as I'm worrying, but I am not too keen on continuing into Shadowlands because of my worries of how dire it can be. So, WoW Classic it is, RuneScape it is, pretty much anything other than depending upon WoW Retail to continue being a game that respects the growth of a character's power. And this video's gone on with me rambling quite long enough. And I've already deviated from the main topic, I think twice already. So I'm going to let it go now. Bye, everybody!